I'm Ted Kerasote. I'm the author of many books, and most recently this book right here, Pukka's Promise, The Quest for Longer-Lived Dogs. I'm also the author of a book called Merle's Door, Lessons from a Freethinking Dog, which became very popular about 5-6 years ago and led to this book. You asked me, Eric, what does happiness mean to me? Primarily, happiness is having good health. And that I always put at the top of my list, because without good health, one really can't do good work, one can't contribute, one is worried about staying alive. And these days, I've had many friends who've unfortunately passed on, been killed in mountaineering and skiing accidents. And so simply being in the game and being healthy, for me, is the key constituent of happiness, and it's what permits the rest of happiness to happen, at least for me. The other parts would be to live in a place that I feel is really home, where the landscape cares for me and I feel protected by it, and that I have a loving community that, of course, includes Pukka and family and loved ones, and that I'm doing good work that contributes to making the world a fairer and a finer place, both for human beings and for their animals. So those three things would be at the top of my list for happiness. There is very good data that simply petting a dog lowers your blood pressure and lowers the blood pressure of the dog as well. So scientifically, we know that there are some immediate health benefits for having a dog. However, I also think there are huge psychological benefits for having a dog that we haven't yet been able to measure. It's a companion that is always there for us, or almost always there. I will say that Pukka and Merle, because they have their own dog doors and can come and go as they wished, or wished in the case of Merle, had their own lives, and just like a human partner, are not always going to be there. But at the end of the day, at the end of the night, there they are. And they're also the kind of companion with whom I've been able to share adventures that no one else wants to go with me on. They'll go to the most out-of-the-way places, to places that other people consider just boring and not exciting enough. And the dogs, because so much of their world is involved with their sense of smell, find places interesting that humans who are so visually oriented don't find interesting at all. And so if I want to go to the top of some obscure mountain that requires lots of bashing through underbrush to get to, the dogs are fascinated to go there because they can smell the tons of other animals that go there, whereas people would say, do you really want to go there? So I think dogs contribute enormously to human happiness, and it's been going on for 30-some-odd thousand years. Some of the happiest memories I have of Merle is meeting him on the San Juan River in southern Utah in 1991. This big golden dog, obviously quite young and still puppyish, just appearing out of the night in my headlights, out of the river, panting, his feet tapping the ground in this anxious little dance, and coming up to the door of the truck as I opened it, giving my thigh a sniff and looking up into my eyes and saying, you need a dog and I'm it. And from that moment on, he just opened the door to my heart and helped me understand dogs better than I had ever before. Going down the river with him, watching him howl and listen to his voice in the canyons, watching him understand what echoes were, watching him observe snakes. It was it's such an uplifting feeling to be with this dog who had this half-wild survival instinct, one that I had never seen in a dog before. And my heart just grew light watching this creature who was not only half wild, but obviously wanted to be with me. Some of my happiest memories with Pukka, who's now going to be about four years old on March 18th, certainly it's his making me laugh. I got him as a very young puppy, unlike Merle, who was about 10 months old. And one of my first memories of Pukka was trying to leave the house early one morning to get to town. I think I had to go to Federal Express or something like that. And many people had been sending Pukka dog toys. They learned I had a puppy, and so they would send quacking ducks, howling wolves, screeching yaks, chirping hedgehogs, and these were all filled in a wicker basket underneath the great windows overlooking the Tetons. And Pukka would empty the basket during the day. I'd fill it up at night. In the morning, he'd empty it again, and this time, as we were trying to leave, he brought me the quacking duck. And I said, Pukka, we have to leave. He put it at my feet. He looked up with those imploring black button eyes, said, please throw it. So I tossed it. He already was a good retriever at 10 weeks old. He retrieved it. I said, no, we have to go. I put it back, and he proceeded to take out every single toy, squeezing each one to make it make its noise, until he had me on my knees laughing because he wouldn't stop, and there was this wildlife chorus going around us. I fell to my knees. He put his paws up on my shoulder, gave me a lick on the mouth, and said, see, there really was time to play. I've gotten many, many stories from readers saying reading Merle's Door or Pukka's Promise has reminded me so much of my dog doing those same things, walking on the beach with him, his swimming and fetching sticks in the surf, his chasing deer and my trying to break him of chasing deer. So I think a lot of my work has simply validated people's relationship with their dogs, especially the part where people talk with their dogs and have this ongoing conversation. I've received so many letters saying, thank you for writing a book in which you actually talk with your dog and the dog responds, because I do that all the time in my house, and I think if anyone ever saw me, they would think I'm crazy, and now I know I'm not. And that has made me really happy to hear that someone has been willing to come out of the closet in public and say that they talk with their dog like that. So I've gotten that letter, gosh, thousands of times. I have gotten a type of letter that has really given me pause for reflection. And people will say, Ted, I love Merle's Door, and it made me realize how short life is and that I really need to enjoy my dog when I have him or her. But it's also made me realize that, and then they say one of three things, Eric. I'm in the wrong job, I'm in the wrong place, and I'm in the wrong relationship. And I need to change that. If I've gotten that letter a dozen times, I've gotten it 300 times. And it's amazing to receive that kind of letter, because I thought I was writing a dog book, a biography of my dog book with helpful hints about the behavior and the evolution of dogs. But there's been this subtext that people have taken from it about living authentically. And perhaps authentically is a synonym for living happily. And what I've realized is that many of my readers, who I think are representative of many Americans, lack those three things in their lives, which makes them unhappy. And Merle's Door made them realize that life indeed is short, and we need to live more authentically, especially if we have that pang of longing that we're missing something, that authentic happiness. And I often wonder if those 300 people, which surely must represent a lot more people who don't write, have actually taken that leap and done something to make their unhappiness into happiness. I would say that one of the most humbling things I learned from Merle was how devoted I was to him, and that I have not been that devoted in my life to many people. But when push came to shove with Merle, there was no question that I would be with him there till the end. And I think, as you can see, that I still get moved when I think about that. So that was the most unexpected lesson that he taught me, that I actually had that sort of commitment and devotion in me to put everything else aside and take care of him when he was ill. As a writer, there have been many things I've wanted to say in my books about the human condition, about what moves us most, about what we're willing to put the most energy into, what gives us the greatest joy, and how we can strive to contribute to our world. Before writing about Merle and Pukka, I don't think I really was successful in getting those messages across in the way I wanted to. And what I discovered about dogs, or writing about dogs, that they were the vehicle through which I could express a whole other layer of life that had nothing to do with dogs themselves. They were the tool, they were the metaphor that allowed me to talk about the human condition in a way that, when I actually talked about the human condition, did not work. And so I'm forever grateful for my dogs for giving me that vehicle to express things that I'd been unable to express before in my writing.